Hi, my name is Erika, I'm a knitter from Brazil, and you are watching my 9th podcast episode. Hi, long time no see, very long time no see. I think by the time you see this, I would have been about 3 months without an update. But that's okay because the second half of the year is always a little bit more rushed for me. Today is September 1st and I believe I will only be able to edit this video after September 10th. So, well, in the next 2 weeks, you will know what I have been up to. There is a lot to show you today. I have been missing you. I just didn't find the moment to sit down and film. I also delayed filming a little bit because I wanted to finish some projects that had been in the last bits. And as a result, today we have 4 finished objects and 5 WIPs to talk about, one of which will be unraveled, and a couple acquisitions, more like gifts. So let's dive in because there is a lot to cover, but I think you will have fun with today's episode. So let's go. I will start with the one that I'm wearing. This is a finished object. And if you have watched my previous podcasts, you know exactly which one it is. Yes, it's my Margot Blouse by Fable Knitwear, one of my test knits that was due for her in the beginning of August. I think she extended the timeline because there are still people working on them. And I also think this pattern won't be out very soon, because Fable Knitwear was about to have a baby. I don't know if the baby was born yet, so she will be probably out in maternity leave for a while, and I don't know when she will be able to finish writing this after the testing feedback. I finished this midway through July, I believe, and well, you can see it's a lovely top, a lacy top with this blousey effect here, created by waist shaping. Lovely buttons here that about the buttons, about my yarn chicken issue, you have seen or you may see in the previous episodes. The project is supposed to be knitted in fingering weight yarn. Hers is in wool, but I knitted mine in cotton thread held double, and by the meterage predicted in the pattern, I should have enough with one skein. Maybe the fact that it is cotton, therefore heavier, contributed to me not meeting the yarn requirements from the pattern, but maybe not, because a few other people run into yarn chicken as well, run into dye-lot issues as well. So when I run into this dye-lot issue, I cleared up with the designer if I could change this last bit of the sleeves so I could make the dye-lot different, less striking, and that's what I did. I ran out of my yarn, even the swatch right here. I was supposed to knit, I think, another centimeter of the body and then start the ribbon. I started the ribbon a little earlier and made it 1 centimeter longer, so it's probably the same length from the pattern. It's a cropped length, you can see it hits right on top of my high-waisted bottom, and I love the length here. I will show you here with a skirt, with a linen skirt, how cute this looks. This is what I posted when I finished it, I think. And well, this worked fine. But I still had some centimeters to knit after splitting for the sleeves here. I still had to make the lace even before I could go to the finish, which it's okay if I could make it in a contrasting yarn. So I decided I was going to offset the lace. I picked her lace pattern, I changed the frequency, I made some lines of moss stitch before the transition. I created this offset lace here, knitted just 1 repeat, and then I started the finishing section according to the pattern. This is lace as well, not clear maybe, but you can see there is sections of lace. The increases for the ruffling are incorporated into the lace. This is quite smart. And then I made both, and then here. It took half of my new skin, I think, or even over half of my new skin to make the lace here. You can see also the same pattern here. You can see the same from the body, and then this is the lace for the increases. And the neckline is sewn down in place because it's very drapey, so like that it's more secure. Well, it took a lot of yarn because ruffles take a lot of yarn. If you are going to knit something roughly, take this into consideration. Anyway, all is well that ends well. I considered over dyeing it. I may have mentioned it in the last podcast episode, but so far I decided not to because it's not looking ugly with this. It kind of worked. It was not my intention to have the contrasting bits, the slightly contrasting bits, but it works. So we have the saying in Portuguese, em time que tá ganhando não se mexe, which means if a team is winning the match, you don't alter it. Probably a football metaphor, a soccer metaphor. So that's it. I won't touch it because I like how it worked out. It's more drapey than I believe it. Not only mine happened to be like that, many of the others happened to have the front quite drapey, and I don't know if this will be worked in the final version of the pattern. To be honest, I don't know how exactly the final version of the pattern will be. It will be the same, but probably she has to tweak a little bit in some spots to make it ideal for all the sizes. When I finished it and I measured it, my gauge, we measure it in the stockinette without considering the lace. My gauge was smaller, I believe, than the gauge of my gauge swatch. So maybe if I was knitting in a proper gauge, it would be even larger. I think larger than that would be a little too much, too drapey, too gapey, and not with this cutesy 30s blouse, 40s blouse air that it has. This was one of the most intricate and detailed patterns that I have ever worked on. I love the final project, but I don't know if I would knit it again just because of the sheer amount of details. I would have to be really wanting another Margot Blouse to commit, but you know that what makes our knitting special is the attention we give to detail. So I do recommend this project. The pattern, probably when it comes out, it's a lovely finished object, but it's a labor of love. The last thing about the Margot is that it was supposed to have ribbon here in this section under the black here and before the ruffle to cinch it. Mine doesn't have because the ribbon I had, I cut it too short so it wouldn't cinch properly. I have to buy another. When I do, I will show you in a picture or somewhere how it looks. Looks pretty cute as well, but I do like it without the ribbon, this fluttery appearance. So I'm keeping it like that and without a rush to buy the ribbon. Then going to our next finished object, it's my other test knit for Fable Knitwear. Sorry for the wrinkles, it was folded in my wardrobe. I think I shouldn't leave it like that. Anyway, here it is. One very black, another very white, and that's kind of my palette. This is the Agnes Camisole, and it's, as you can see, a tube of stockinette with some lace details. There are increases here to create a blousey effect. I-cord is knitted. I initially intended to use ribbon instead of an I-cord, but when I finished it, I decided I-cord would make a better effect here. And this is a fake button band, and the buttons are just decorative. I considered not placing the buttons, but then why not? I already had them, and they look very cute. You can see in these pictures here how it is put on. The straps are the bonnet. This is another case in which I had a gauge in the swatch and then another gauge, a tighter gauge by the way, in the actual project. So mine fits kind of okay, you can see here. It's even a little bit not tight properly, but very fitted right here in the underarm, this place here. But I think it became an official requirement of the pattern to add this ribbon to cinch the top in the very upper part here, because most people, even after incorporating the decreases she has for this part, still had it very blousy up here. And as we were not so thrilled with the gapey top, she said to incorporate the ribbon, which adds to the very Edwardian look. You can check for Agnes Camisole the hashtag on Instagram and see the very cute versions they made. I couldn't imagine at first this in dark colors or this kind of thing. I really wanted to stick to the light colored in white mostly inspiration, but there were some versions that turned out very cute. There is a burgundy one. I won't post the pictures because they're not mine, but you can search for that on Instagram, or you can go to my project and click the hashtag and see the others. Very easy project, very smooth sailing, really. The lace is not hard. I have twisted it in the beginning, but just my lack of attention. And after that, everything went smoothly. No notes, a very easy pattern. I haven't worn it that much because when I finished it, it was winter here. But I assume I will wear it much in the summer. I don't know how bra friendly it is, so maybe I will have to wear it without a bra or with strapless bra. I will find a way. It looks cute. You saw it in the pictures. And it's a very simple project, good for resting. If you want just stockinette with some little oomph, wait for this pattern to go out. It might be out before the Margot, I believe. Let's go to the next ones then. I will leave you with past Erika, which has recorded a bit for you about the first commission that I made. Check it out. Hi, Erika from the past here. I'm coming to you just to show you one project, one finished object, because it's going to be delivered to its owner today. It's this beanie, this lovely beanie, or more likely a beret, a tam maybe, you can see. It's super simple. I have written a pattern for it and I have called it ribs and rice, because the seed stitch is named ponto arroz in Portuguese, which means rice stitch, and ribbon, ribs. So how this project came to be. It is also my first and only so far commission, because, well, I have this friend, she is a photographer. I met her because she took the photographs for both my books and she lives close by. She's also interested in knitting. I think she hasn't been knitting for a while, but recently she inspired herself and started knitting a scarf again. She sent me the picture one of these days. But before that, she showed me one beret that she had, just like this one. I'm going to pick it and show it to you in a second. Here, her original beret, which was the model for this one, this recreation. It's also my, well, it's not my first recreation, because my first recreation was the modernization of that pattern, but it's my first recreation from an actual object, and it was a very nice experience. So she showed me this one and she said she had been trying to buy another, because you can see the ribbon is pretty stretched, so she can't wear it properly as she used it to. So she showed me a picture of her wearing it, so I could see the fit, how it would sit in her head, and she asked if I could make one just like this one for her, because she couldn't find to buy. As I noticed from the picture that the stitches were quite simple, I told her, well, bring me the beanie, I will study it and I will recreate it. And so I did. I started by counting the gauge, getting the gauge here, which is 14 stitches in 10 centimeters, and I searched which yarns I could use to get this gauge. She asked for a black one. I bought a yarn, worsted weight yarn, very common here, and I then counted the stitches all around here. I counted the stitches here when the pattern shifts to another stitch, and I counted the rows in the flat part and the rows in the crown. I analyzed the crown to see how the decreases were made, or at least how they were distributed, and I got to some simple instructions that I then noted and applied to make this one. Her main concern was this, the ribbon. You can see the ribbon is 4 or 5 centimeters, maybe shorter here, because a beanie, you know, you have to fit it in your head, and when it's loose it's not so comfortable, at least the edge. I will show you how it fits. Pretty cute, right? Here, see. So I have then knitted this one. I actually made 2 modifications. One of them was the edge. You can see that the former has a simple caston. I like to make tubular castons for ribbed stuff. So you can see here we have a 2x2 tubular caston, which is very similar to a 1x1 tubular caston. And I also changed a little bit the decreases here. I think I made 1 or 2 rows less on the top, but I kept the amount of decreases. I'm not sure if this was knitted in the round, so I am not sure that she was decreasing all with the same decrease that I used. But in the final object, as you can see, it didn't matter if I made the decreases leaning all to one side or to both sides. It took me only a little over half a skein, I think 54 grams maybe, 100 and some meters, and it's an excellent project, excellent gift knit. That's why I decided to write the pattern, and I'm planning on adding some variations here, making it with a double moss, double seed stitch, and with only 1x1 rib, because it's quite simple. I think I can do it. And maybe I will also create several sizes. I think this one will be a size medium large, but I will take the measurements correctly and I will set it aside to deliver it to the rightful owner. For the last finished object of today, I bring you another project that I think I already showed you in the podcast, I'm not sure, but it's now finished, which is my grandma's vest. Well, there is one thing that is missing in this project, and it is blocking, but it's acrylic, so it won't change much. It might just smooth out very tiny tension issues I had, because overall I think my tension is pretty smooth, even without the blocking. And it's quite drapey because it was knit entirely on 4mm needles. This is a very simple project. It was self-drafted. You can see it from behind, nothing special to look here. The details are in simple 1x1 ribbon with tubular cast on and tubular cast off here too, and central double decreases in here. This time I also made short rolls to shape the shoulders, noticeable here, and I finished it with a 3-needle bind off. That's about it. I intend to someday release a pattern on this, because I have made about 3 of these, or 4 by now. I have made 4 vests with the same spirit, 2 for my mom, 2 for my grandma, although my mom's second vest was open, and my 2 grandma vests were almost identical. The details I mentioned for you, the short rolls and the tubular cast on and cast off, were the only thing that I made different from the previous version. This one, both that green and this brown look amazing for her, so I hope she will like it. I intend to send it to her this week or next week, as soon as I can wash it and wrap it. She lives in another state, and I have took notes of everything and I will write them down. If I were to make a third iteration, the one thing I would change would be to make twisted rib instead of simple 1x1. I think it would be just a little more polished. I think it took less than 700 meters. It's a very affordable project. It's not see-through, a little bit maybe. No, not see-through. I started here, as I mentioned, split it back first, then knitted the fronts to the sides of the back, calculating the decreases. I first made here, and then I started the neckline when I finished this, because then you won't have at the same time instructions. It's quite easy. And also, some people don't like a plunging V, and starting it a little later makes it modest, which I think my grandma prefers. Let me see if I can show you put on how it looks like. For me, it's a little bit oversized. I made it for a 101 centimeter bust. I think it would be equivalent to a size large, or maybe a medium large. In my grandma, it's neutral ease. That's what she wanted to wear with her stuff. And that's it. I think we can move to our whips now. So for our whip section, I have 5 whips, as I mentioned it, so a lot to talk about. Then let's go quickly by the whips you already know, and then proceed to the new ones that I have more to talk about. The first whip that you already know is my temperature blanket. And since the last time you saw it, it gained, I think, 3 new rows. And it's right there now. Today is September 1. I just finished one strip of it yesterday. August 31 and the month divisor completed another strip, so I started to attach it to the blanket there, and I can pick up to show you because it will fall. I only attached one side of one hexagon and I stopped it because I was doing other things yesterday. So I will attach it today, tomorrow, this week. I will finish attaching it, and I will post here a picture for you, or maybe a video footage of how it's looking like now. Maybe I will make a side-by-side comparison to the last time I showed it to you, and you will see that we have much more yellow now. We have, I think, about the same amount of orange days and yellow days, and we will soon be transitioning into the orange days again, because September is when winter ends and the spring begins. Spring is cute, but I love winter. I really like the cold weather. Well, it's not over yet. We still have winter enough for me to complete most of my autumn and winter plans. So let's go to the next one then. My next oldest whip is my vintage cardigan, which I have started in January. I hope to finish it before the next January. I haven't worked much in it. I think we already had seen this in the last podcast episode, one finished sleeve. I have knitted one entire little skein in the second sleeve, but I hadn't attached a second one to continue. Let's see here, we have this from the pattern. And what I have worked a little bit in is the ribbon of the back. So we need 7.5 here and 10 centimeters or 4 inches in here. So it's a little far from transitioning to the pattern, which is fine because my other needle, my 2.5 millimeter, is still busy here. It will be busy here for a while. But I have been working in this because it's one of the pieces that I have a simple project, one that is not mentally charging. To be honest, this pattern is very easy to knit too. I just have to keep the row counter here to know when to do the twist here. Other than that, it's quite simple. It's a ribbon with a twist. It's mock cable, lovely effect, easy to do, but it's easier. This is just 1x1 ribbon, so when I really can't think, just want to move my hands, that's what I resort to. But as you can see, I have been having simple projects, so this didn't claim it much of my attention. Now that I am almost finished with other projects, I believe I will finally focus in the cards, yes, plural, for myself. And that's it. Let's go to the WIPs you don't know yet. There are 3 WIPs here to show you. You have heard about 2. You have heard about them in my winter and autumn knitting plans. As I mentioned, I have been realizing my plans. I will still make a video like I made for my summer knit, analyzing what I made and didn't make from those plans, but I'm pretty good in keeping up with them, I have to say. I have been making a lot of self-drafts, but most of them were things for people that asked me to do stuff for them. This one is not, it's from my head. And can you guess what is this? Yeah, I have talked to you about this a couple times. This is my Sobakevich hat. At least this is my first attempt on the hat. Well, not really the first. I will explain in a second, but just see how it looks like now. A little silly. It's still on the needles because I wanted to show you this. I wanted to show you how it is before I unravel it. Yeah, sorry, I will unravel it. See here from the top? Yeah, this is crochet and this is knitted. It's attached to the needles. Well, I have learned a lot from this project. I think I talked about it in my very first video or about that. This is something I had an idea for based on a character from The Dead Souls by Gogol. This guy, he's very strong and muscular and everything in his house is very solid, and he's a solid character, although maybe a little bit dishonest. Many of those characters in the novel are dishonest. This is the idea. So yeah, he's a solid guy, physically speaking, and I wanted the hat to be solid as well. This is worsted weight wool. You can see it's kind of solid, but not what I envisioned for a very bulky man. I won't be making this hat for a bulky man, but it's my idea of the character and all the portraits of him. So I want to remake this with actual bulky weight. Also, you can see that I have started the hem here, which will be my hairy hem. This is not wool, unhappily, it's, I don't know, polyester maybe. I will probably hold it double with another yarn that I have, which is also fluffy, to make it bulkier too, so when I increase the weight of this yarn, it doesn't look flimsy in a 3mm needle. 3.5mm needle is what I'm using for it. For the hat itself, I use it 4.5mm needle. I think the yarn recommends 5 or 5.5, and I want it to be more sturdy. It's not as sturdy as I wanted. I have made some tricks to make it look more structured. You can see here at the edge that the edge is pretty marked. My first attempts weren't like that. Just to get the center correctly, I think I reknitted the top 3 or 4 times. The first 2 times were back then when I showed it for you the first time. But forgetting that time, when I already had decided on a needle and everything, I still knitted this a few times. The first time I was finishing the rows with a slip stitch, joining them. The appearance here was interesting. It was maybe sturdier because I was going and coming back. You would see it as sets of 2 rows, but it would form a very noticeable line up here, and I didn't like it. I have to learn how to make it pretty round. After you get to the 5th or 6th rows, you have to offset the creases every other row so they won't become an hexagon, but I could make it round. And then I started by coming and coming back because I didn't want to work on a spiral. At first I remembered crocheting just some little pieces of amigurumi for my triceratops, and I hated to work on a spiral. I decided to change for a spiral when I came to the border and I had to make the side, and the side couldn't be made otherwise. If I can hide a line on the top, I can't hide a line on the side. So I decided then just undo the entire thing and make it entirely in a spiral. I first made like this much, and then I unmade it and tried to follow a tutorial to leave the slip stitch line more invisible. Mine wasn't as invisible as the lady in the tutorial, and hers even was still a little bit visible, so that's why I decided on the spiral. I made the diameter too big, and then I had to learn how to calculate the proper diameter for your head. By the way, you have to measure the circumference of your head and divide it by pi, the number 3.14, you know, that one very big number. I did not trust it and went a little farther, and it became too big. Then, because this is wool, I blocked it to see if it would grow. It did not grow because I had already closed it here, and then I added one more row with increases, I think, and then I learned how to make this very marked side here because it was quite rounded before, didn't have this noticeable change. As I mentioned, I learned a lot, but when I finished this, it looks a little bit weird, that small. I don't know if in the next attempt I will make the brown part even longer, or if I will just increase this one so it goes up to here and double fold it. I will probably double fold this guy here, but I might increase this part too. Another thing that I have noticed is that maybe a round, very round stuff isn't ideal. Our head is not round from the top. If you look at our head from the top, you will see that it's oval. So I might try to make the top oval next time so it will fit properly in the head. At least my head is oval, but I think all the heads are oval. So I will try to make it, and I will learn a little bit more about hat design because I really want this to come as close as possible to my vision. It looks kind of cute here in the screen, but I won't keep it like that. My intention with buying this yarn was two. One, to make this hat, and the second was to experiment the yarn because, as I mentioned, this is one of the few 100% wool yarns available in Brazil, which don't cost two eyes and a nose. I don't know how the expression is in English, but we say in Portuguese, olho da cara, which means one eye from your face. Anyway, I wanted to experiment the yarn, so I decided I had to find another project for the yarn. For crocheting, it's pretty good. I don't know if I would wear it on top of my skin because it's a little bit scratchy. If I knit it with it for a while, my finger gets a rash. If this can be worn, it's to be seen. The twist is a little bit weird. It's kind of split at points, but not that bad of a yarn. So I will be undoing this. Now that I have shown you, I can unravel it, and I will make this one with a bulky version, which is also wool. But of course bulky, right? And it's for rugs, so it might be even coarser. I don't know. The last thing about it, I might make a base for it. I want a leather base because if I were to use like plastic or other things, it would be like too round and don't adapt to the head. So I'm considering a leather base, fake leather of course, but the issue is they're only rounded ones, so I would have to pick between using a base or making it oval, which I think will be better for the head. But then I remember that I have a piece of fake leather that I bought, so maybe I can make the mold and cut it to create the base for it. To be seen. I will see all of that when I buy the new yarn for the head, which may not be so close, I think. Maybe this year still, I don't know. Well, let's go to the next project then. Well, when my yarn didn't work for this project, I was stuck with two skeins of that wool, and I still wanted to see how wearable it is, how good it is to work. And then from my ginormous skill, that's just a bunch of ideas, I searched for what I could do with two skeins of wool, and I got mostly hats, a few cows, and one project that was in my queue, which was a wearable, a garment, and that's what I went for because I have been wanting to make it for a long time. And I don't know if you know this project. Can you guess? It's the Ribblesdale vests by Delicate France. It's already not so young of her patterns, probably from 2020. It's a cropped fitted vest in brioche stitch. It takes very little yarn, that's why I picked it. I think my size will take less than 400 meters, and I have exactly 400, so that's why I picked this one. This, which you have here, it's almost the entire part until the underarm. I only knit another centimeter, which is 2 rows of brioche, and I have just joined the second ball. This is one ball and a little more, and the second ball is this plus the one that I have unraveled. That's one of the reasons why I decided to film today, because I would like to finish this, if possible, for my birthday, which is exactly in 1 week. I will turn 34, yes, and I'm not sure that I will do it. Sometimes I make like my birthday project. My stripes was my birthday project. I don't remember if I made it last year, but I would like, if possible, to finish this until my birthday, to wear it in my birthday. I'm not sure that I will finish it because next week I will receive visits in my house, and so I have to prepare for that. I have to rush a little bit of my work so I can free a bit of time for that. So I'm not sure that I will be able to do it, but perhaps yes, because it's surprisingly a mindless knit. I had only one problem here, which was probably here, about here, I think, which was when I dropped some stitches, because I was knitting and I was using my other phone as a camera, and the camera fell into my lap, and I only had like 3 stitches at the needle, and when it fell, it shoved my project down, and the last stitches escaped from the needle, so I dropped a stitch in brioche in the corner. That was mind-boggling, and I tried a few tutorials to pick it back up, but at the corner, very hard, so I just followed the tip to think back, and I tried it, and luckily, as the error was just 1 row below, I just tinkered back 2 or 3 rows, 2.5 maybe, and I could reknit it, and it's almost seamless, I think. I'm not so concerned with something that is at the very corner, because I will still pick up stitches for a button band. That's also why I'm not so concerned with this looking tiny, to be honest, because brioche stretches a lot. It stretches a lot. And it will still have a little bit here. I wasn't able to try it out since it's bottom up and it's not even closed, but I have wrapped it around my waist, and I think it will be on point. This is a size 2, and I'm almost splitting for the front and back, and I think this is adorable, don't you think? I really love this very dark brown. I don't like to wear brown. I much prefer black or cool colors, but this is a cool brown, I think, or cool enough for myself as a dark winter. So I think this will be nice. It will match a pair of boots that I have with lace, and it will look like a nice dark academia theme, I think. Hi, Erika from the future here. Some days have passed. Today is September 11th, and as I haven't yet edited the video to show you my last episode, I decided to film some things that have changed in the meanwhile, so I could already place it in the episode. So the first one is that my Ribblesdale vest is now a finished object. As you can see, I have some pictures and some footage to show you. I will place it here, B-roll, and well, I have finished it. It was finished 2 days ago. I wore it for the first time September 9, just 1 day after my birthday, because it was finally sunny. Prior to that, it remained in the blocking mat for 5 days straight, because it was so rainy. I have washed it, blocked it, dried it, rolled it up in a towel as we do, but it didn't help, and it took a lot to dry, but I think in normal conditions it wouldn't take so long. I ran into a case of yarn chicken, and I had only the swatch and just a little like 1 meter, 1.5 meters extra of the yarn to make the finishings in the armholes. When I finished the button band, right? First you finish the body and then the button band, and then you finish the armholes with I-cord. And I even considered making smaller I-cords than what the pattern recommended, but it wouldn't fit so perfectly as this does. You can see in the footage, in the pictures, that this is very much a dedicated project. It fits amazingly to the body. It's perfect as always, and the instructions are very precise, so the finishings are well thought. And you can see it looks like it doesn't have any finishings, but it actually is finished with I-cord. If I were to make a smaller I-cord, it might not be so unnoticeable. So I'm glad that I was able to actually finish the entire thing as per pattern, and I have just a tiny little amount of yarn, and I really like it. It's quite warm. As for the yarn that I wanted to test, it's a nice yarn. It's no merino, but I think this is a nice yarn for maybe shawls even, but mostly for vests and cardigans and that kind of thing. I'm not sure if this is good for cables because it's only 2-ply and it's a little bit splitty here and there. So I'm not sure. I will have to try another project to see if it's usable for cables. But for brioche, you can see, pretty nice. Quite warm. I would 100% use this yarn again. There are some projects on Ravelry that used it for color work and it worked fine. So if you are in Brazil, maybe this is a good one to try. Let me go then to the other things I wanted to talk to you about. Bye-bye. Hi, I came back here even further in the future while I'm already editing the video just to show you a work I cast on and cast off this week, which is this top here. It's a Ghost Whisperer by Park&knit, Park Williams, and it was such a spur of the moment project that I didn't even include anywhere in my plans, although I did plan to knit it since a long time ago. This is a yarn named mohair, which is not a mohair indeed, it's what they call faux hair, and it's made of viscose, mostly acrylic and nylon, and it imitates the effect of mohair. It's a lace weight. I knitted this in a 7mm needle. How this project came to be: WIP Wonderland, which I followed over at Instagram, posted that she and Quite Cozy Knit and some more people were making a cowl to knit this piece. As I mentioned, I had this in my queue. But my queue, it has over 8,000 projects, so it's not realistic at all. But since I saw this, I was interested in this and other projects by Park&knit. And I knew I had bought this yarn 1 or 2 years ago, and it was in my stash because I wanted to test it, like I wanted to test the other I used it for the Ribblesdale. So I decided that's the moment I'm going to do this. They included them in the group and I cast on writing this last Saturday, September 13. I finished it until the underarm and the back panel over the weekend. And during the week I made the sleeves. I finished them this morning. I blocked it. It got dry because today it's pretty hot here. Spring is showing its face already. I wove in the ends and I brought it here to show you, to include in the video that I'm currently editing. It was a very quick project, a very interesting project. It used up just over one skein of the yarn because the skein has 300 meters and this used 378 meters. So just over one skein. If I had made the sleeves shorter, it wouldn't even use that. You can see some pictures. I will leave them going by here. I actually like this even as a sleeveless blouse, but what I want to talk to you about is that this kind of reignited my will to plan future WIPs and to knit new stuff, because I really was focused in finishing my current WIPs, which I still am, but I didn't really was thinking about new projects, about summer projects and what I want to knit next, but now I am. So when I have time, I will be filming a stash tour and a summer and 2026 knitting plans, because we're going to the warmer seasons again here. Lots of things to talk about in this planning front, but I will save this for that occasion. But yes, I do recommend the pattern. It's pretty easy to follow and it's quite well thought in terms of finishings. This is an I-cord with the yarn held double, and you have the option to finish the sleeves with an I-cord as well, or with a simple ribbed cuff and a stretchy bind off that I learned that's new to me, stretchy bind off. But I chose the ribbed because I saw that the projects that had the ribbed cuff had it more cinched here. And this is a size 1. Yeah, it has a little bit of positive ease. This pattern is recommended to be knitted with 0 to 4 inches or 0 to 10 centimeters of positive ease. So neutral to some positive ease. I like it more the people that had up to 5 centimeters of positive ease. I will measure it later and I will leave in the screen how much positive ease I actually have, because I think I got some, and it must mean that my gauge was a little thicker, which should be because I used the 7mm, because the only 6.5 I had was in the interchangeable set. And I thought that such a thin yarn could grab the joint of the interchangeable set and it would be not a nice knitting experience. I think that I had to talk about this project, and I want just to update you on a WIP. And my last WIP for today, folks, I have saved maybe the best for last, as we do, because my last WIP for today is something you have only seen in swatch form and not finished. And now you're going to see it quite advanced. Here it is, my Cloud Bursting by Susan Crawford. This is a vintage pattern that she had worked for several sizes. You can see it's not a vintage way of working because although we're working bottom up, like vintage patterns, we're not working in pieces. There is an option in the pattern to work completely in the round and stick, but this is not wool and I don't know how to reinforce acrylic for that, so I decided to knit the flat version, which means I made this color work flat. It's not great, but not that bad. You can see my floats, just a mess. I do not fathom color dominance, but I think it still looks quite nice after all. I have already finished one repeat here and I have started the second repeat. I stopped it in the beginning of the 5th row of this strip. The chart starts about here. It has 30 rows. I am making the vintage fit option with cropped length. I'm almost finishing the cropped length. I have to complete one more repeat here, which will be about here maybe, and a few more rows. If I don't like the short length, I think I have yarn enough to proceed a bit more for the medium length. But I will see when I get there. This was so quick, much more quick than it looks. I traveled in the beginning of August, and before traveling, I finished the ribbon, and I think up to here, before the red. And when I came back after some weeks, I decided to pick this project and continue the chart. And I picked it in a Thursday, I think, and by Sunday I had got to this point that you see. Not very far from getting to the underarms. I have stopped since then because I wanted to work on this, to finish my grandma's vest, update my blanket because I was late in it a lot, so I stopped a little bit, and because it requires a lot of attention, so I can only work on it in the weekends, and in my weekends a couple times I had to work in my actual job, proofreading translations and this kind of thing, but it goes very nicely. It's quite addictive. I have found out that color work is addictive, and honestly I think it's in my future a bunch. A little bit of a problem because dark winters and many colors don't work together, but I will work out around that. I'm sure I will. I'm already making plans because I think I will have leftovers from this. Just see how much I use of this. Not much, you see. 4 rows here, 4 rows here. In the repeats, this is a full 100 grams skin. I think with this and the leftover I got from the brown, maybe, I don't know if this would be a good color for myself. If I add black, maybe, I'm not sure. But even without this, I can maybe buy more dark blue and make a vest, which I have in my queue too, vintage also. I'm already dreaming about more color work, and I haven't even finished this one, but it's much faster than I assumed it would. So I think I might even finish this before I finish this. My babies, my vintage cardigans, as soon as I finish this, they will start to get my attention. And that's my goal for the winter. I would like to finish both, or at least this one, before the end of the season, which means before September 2021. There are a few more projects that were in my plans, a few baby hats and one hat, which I won't tackle until I finish this because I need to know how much of the red I will have left over. The hats were all meant to be done with leftover yarn, so I need to finish this so I can tackle them, and I think this is most of my plans. I have been good at sticking with my plans. Well, let me just show it to you once more. Contemplate this beauty. I really like the color combination. It's very different from the other projects, which pleases me. Not that I have to be original, but well, we like to have our own projects, right? My writing is already pretty bad here, but I wanted to show you just some progress I have in my color work cardigan. Because the last time I've shown it to you, I think I had 1 repeat of the chart and a little more. I have now 2 complete repeats of the chart and some bits more. And I have reached what the cropped length. I might knit up to the medium length. Let me see how it is reaching. People sometimes think that it would be too short, but I am actually a short person. So I think it covers even the top. See? The underarm here, if I split here, it will get to the top of my bottom, so I might leave it like that. Since I couldn't decide already if I wanted to elongate the body or not. I decided I was going to knit both my sleeves, and then I would gauge that based on the material that I have left, especially this dark blue. Yeah, close like that, you can see it's a dark blue and not a black. This dark blue is what I have the least, because it's a leftover from 2 other projects. But now that I have held it here, I think I will leave it like that. Let's see. I have cast on one sleeve already and started the chart on it. Here I am now with the lighter color, and I have yesterday cast on the cuff of the other sleeve just to knit the 7.5 centimeter ribbon here. I intend to knit them kind of simultaneously and finish them more or less at the same time. The one interesting thing about this is the body needle is my smaller needle. I found this out when I took the needles from here to start the chart here. So my ribbon is larger than this part, but that's okay because it's very close. I measured my gauge and I got 31 stitches in 10 centimeters and the pattern gauge is 30. I believe that it might match exactly the gauge of the pattern if it was released from the needles. So I'm not so worried about that. And that's the update on it, and I hope next time I will have the entire thing to show you. So that's it. I think that's what I have to show you today in terms of knitting and crochet. And I have just a few acquisitions. So let me show you quickly, because this is already a big podcast episode. So I have a few items to show you, some gifts that I got. In the beginning of August, I went to my boyfriend's house, to his family's house, and I got this nice mug from his mother. If you read Portuguese, it means crocheter here, and it says that nothing is impossible when you have yarn and a needle in your hands. In Portuguese, we don't use crochet hooks, we have crochet needles, agulhas de crochet. Agulhas de tricô, agulhas de crochet. It means needles and hooks. And also I think it's crocheter because we have many more crocheters than knitters here. She even thought about this being red. She picked the red one because she knows I love red. Everything around in my office, you can see perhaps the bookshelves in my pictures, they're all red. My table is black and red. All my aesthetics is very black and red. So this fits my aesthetics very much and I really love it. I've been using it for coffee. It has water now because I don't like to bring a hot beverage into my room. I already had one accident. I had to wash this project twice before it was ready because in the first time it stained with coffee that my sister brought me. I asked for coffee in bed, my sister brought me, and it dropped it exactly in the white. I washed it, then I continued knitting. I was already here, and then when I went to block it, since it was already a bit dirty from being carried around, I decided I was going to bleach, and the bleach left a huge yellow stain here. I was so mad at myself. I have diluted it. They say if you place bleach directly, it stains. But I had diluted it and even so it stained. So I had to leave it in warm water with soap for 48 hours. And then I washed it all by hand, left it dry, and now you can see that it's pretty nice. The downside of making pure white garments is exactly this one. It gets dirty easily. And then the downside of making dark, like black or dark brown, is that it grabs everything, to be honest. So that's why I don't bring coffee, tea and this kind of thing into my bedroom. And this is water, but I love this mug. And I also got from my boyfriend, not when I went there, but for my birthday, he bought me some vintage magazines. I won't show them to you in detail today because you remember the last time I showed you vintage magazines in detail, they had almost 45 minutes and we are already probably around that. In the future, maybe I can make other episodes dedicated to my vintage magazines. So, as I mentioned, 3 days ago was my birthday and I had a few more acquisitions to add to this list, two to be precise. One of them was a gift from my sister, my first project bag, official so to say. It came from the US, it's by Heart and Harbor. I don't know the brand, but it's a very nice bag intended for crochet or knitting. You have these many pockets here. This pocket you can add hooks and needles and maybe even a pattern folded here. Yarn, you have 3 pockets in the outer side and you won't see them here, but they are here. See, a few more pockets in the inside. You can hold your yarn in here. I have placed my colorway project here because it has a lot of yarn to store, and because I can bring my yarn through these holes here, and then I can pull it directly from the inside and avoid it getting tangled. And it came with this smaller bag for transportation, and it contains my other project by now. It's the back of my vintage cardigan. Very nice bag. I never thought I needed a bag, but she bought it for me to protect the projects from my cat. The cat loves to climb everything that is mine. And my final acquisition was a gift from me to myself, a compilation of magazines. I think it's from 1948 to 1950 something. It's the numbers 1 to 15 of the magazine Tricots de Paris. Here, I will show you one cover, but there are many covers here, and there's a lot of patterns for kids, for adults, for men, some embroidery here too. I will not be showing it to you in detail now as the other ones, because I will keep the magazines to show you in dedicated videos, but just for you to see. And I have one of them that I already had, it's number 14, so I am going to resell the isolated number I have because I already have it here. So it's a quite nice book, and I think it will be great to study the history of knitting in Brazil. I think it was the first magazine that we had published here, and it's not exactly Brazilian, it's imported from France. It's Tricots from Paris after all. I believe it was translated. I don't know if it was a magazine that existed in France or if it was a compilation of French patterns just translated and published by this publishing house. I will talk to you more about it when I talk about this volume, but I just wanted to show you, to let you know that I got this one, and they are all here. I have organized my knitting library. I will show you a picture or a footage. So that's what I had to add, and I think I can edit the video now. That's it for today, my folks. I would have stuff to tell you in an off-the-needle segment. I have been playing games, I have been watching stuff, I have been reading a little bit, but I have already talked so much. So I think I will leave it to the next one if the things are relevant. Right now, I want to wrap it up, and I don't want to bore you with a 2-hour episode. Our last video was already pretty long, so let's keep it on that. Let me know what have you been doing, what are your plans for the next seasons, because they're coming now. So tell me what have you been doing and what you have thought about what I showed you today, and what are your guesses for the next projects. What's the project you liked most today and what you are most excited to see in the next podcast episode. And I see you in the next video, which I don't know if it will be a podcast episode. I don't know exactly when it will go out, to be very frank with you. I now am prioritizing other things in my life, but I still like to come and talk, chat a little bit with you about knitting. So be happy, be healthy, and I see you in the next one. Bye bye.